Welcome back to another Gundam episode. It's the RMS 099 Rick Dias. Let's get started. This is what we're working on today. It is the Rick Dias RMS 099, and we're going to make this kid better. First thing I want to do is kind of start with a little bit of a disassembly. Again, the back of the legs, front of the legs, different things are just, the seam lines are atrocious on this bad boy. There's a couple of spots where I was going a little quick. Totally my mistake, and I kind of gouged the plastic a little bit that I'll need to sand down and smooth out. So the first thing is get the seam lines corrected, and we're going to go ahead and disassemble a little bit to get that to happen. Okay, so what I like to use is a Tamiya extra thin. It's my preferred on just about everything. The regular Tamiya cement is not something that I would normally use. Sometimes I still do. We're going to take some of this and we're just going to fill in. I don't know if you can see how that works. As soon as I touch it and it has a gap to go into, it just fills right into that gap. And then we're going to squeeze that together. So you can see this. Squeeze that together. You see that ridge that's there? That ridge that's formed around down the entire seam line. That's what we want, and we're just going to hold this for a minute or two, and then it's good to go. Okay, so that's about 60 seconds, and you can probably see that that is a lot better now. We're going to go ahead and continue that process for the rest of the seam lines, and that's going to also cover all of these nasty little nub marks, and then we can sand everything down. Okay, we've given that a little time to dry, and now we're going to go through a little bit of sanding. First thing we're going to start with is a file. Alright, so this is a needle file. Now this is a certain shape where it's half round on one side, flat on the other side. I think it's a general purpose one. And you can also tell that I got a little bit of the glue kind of went a little everywhere. I tried to wipe it off, and I got a rough texture there, so we're going to have to sort that out with some sanding. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't expect you to be either. Okay, so we're going to start by filing this down. Then we're going to move through some sandpaper and then some finish sanding. I like to actually use these just regular nail files, little emery boards. I think they do great. Okay, and what you're going to find is you're going to get to a point where it's kind of like this. Really rough. There's a couple of shiny spots there. We'll get that knocked down the rest of the way, but I mean, you can this thing is just it's pink powder everywhere from this thing. So you're really gonna take a lot off of that. Next thing I like to do is hit it with some like 4 or 5, sometimes 600 grit sandpaper. And what I'm really trying to do there is not necessarily take a lot off. I'm really just trying to smooth out the larger gouges and lines that the file is going to make. The file's very aggressive, especially if you're heavy-handed like I tend to be. You know, that's definitely something that you want to keep track of, and don't go overboard, guys. Take it a little step at a time, because that's most of my problems, is being a little heavy-handed and going overboard. And then what you really want to do is, this is an old one, but I use emery boards. Emery boards, I feel like, tend to be around the 1,000 grit area. That's where they start, and then I step up. So that's number 1 number 2, and number 3. What that's going to do is it goes smoother and smoother. So as you can see, I've already hit this one up with the number 1, and it's still dusty, but it's starting to almost have a matte finish. It doesn't have a lot of lines or anything like that. Everything seems really smooth with fingernail tests and all that. So then we're going to go over it with the conditioner. That's just what this one's called, condition number 2. Run over that, and you can see it's already getting some shine back as I'm doing that. The plastic is, so it's getting very, very, very smooth, and that's one of the tricks that I found. These things are cheaper. You can get a 3-pack like this, or even the ones that are they're like 3 of them together, like kind of like a triangle tube, kind of thing, like that. They're all in one, but I find that these are much cheaper than what I found in hobby stores for sticks, and they work just as good, if not better. So we're going to hit these pieces with this and move on to the next step. Okay, and just for a comparison, you've got this one here that has been panel line removed. This is the one that we also spilled some of the glue on. Hopefully you can tell by that. There's nothing left. Nothing left there. This is where we had our spill side, and that's how that leg is coming out now. Now this is where we started. You can see right there. You can see panel line. On the back, there's a side by side. I mean, it's like night and day. Well, there's a lot of difference. So, this is what you can do. All right, we're going to finish up these parts with removing panel lines and taking out the nubs, giving it a good sand, and then I think that's about it for this video. And that's what we have for the Rick Dias. I hope I'm saying that right. I may not be. Frankly, I don't know, because I never watched whatever specific episode or series that this is from. If I have, I don't remember it. The cool thing is, this is a really good example of how you can take, this seam line and make it disappear. You may have seen a little bit of the seam line there visually, but once it's top coated, once it has something, even the smallest amount of anything to fill that in, especially in a matte coat, it completely goes away. We're probably going to end up painting this kit when all things are said and done, but I just wanted to keep it simple for you and let you see that removing seam lines, it really is a labor of love, especially with these kits that are bad. But what you get from it is something that, really I think the hobby was meant for, which is customization. Gunpla is freedom. Gunpla is freedom. So, be free to do what you want with these. If you want to scratch build them, if you want to customize them, if you want to kit bash, if you just want to remove some seam lines, that is great. I fully support it. I fully support the work that you're doing. And I'm hoping that you guys will support my work here in continuing these video series. I'm going to try to keep things short and sweet so that the content is easy to consume. And if you'll do me a favor with smashing that like button, as they say, please subscribe if you're not, and you can see other things that I'm doing and other tutorials and different things that I'm doing with Gunpla kits, and I may even get into painting some miniatures at some point. I do have some for a friend. I've even got a custom Mandalorian armor set that A friend of mine has been wanting me to paint for a long time, and like many people who are commissioned to paint something specific for them, for someone, be it miniatures or Gunpla or whatever, it's been sitting there a long time. I should probably do that. So I might show that to you guys too. This is a hobby. This is fun. So yeah, hopefully you thought this was fun. Hopefully you thought it was entertaining. And I'll see you next time.